Okay, so you can work double knit flat like this, or you can work it in the round, which is sort of part of our tea cosy is made in the round, but the principle is exactly the same, and that is you have to work pairs of stitches together. Now I've cast on and joined in the round using magic loop these stitches. I've just moved them onto double pointed needles at the moment just because the cable is a distraction, and I want to just show you the technique without having to worry about the cable, because before we can start double knitting we've got to set it up. So our cast on happened with 2 yarns held together, and there are other ways to cast on double knitting, but for our projects that's how we've done it. We've worked 2 yarns together and cast on the number of stitches that we need. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work these stitches, setting them up for double knitting. So each stitch has got 2 strands to it, one zinnia, one avocado, and if I've already said this I apologise, but I've repeated myself, I am sorry. And what we're going to do is separate out the components of those stitches to make 2 stitches out of 1. So let's start. I'm going to assume orange is my dominant colour or main colour on the side that I'm working. So that means all of the orange stitches will be knit and all of their partners will be avocado and purled. So just when you're knitting normally, the yarn is at the back of the work. This time I need to make sure both yarns are at the back of the work. But what I'm going to do is I've just put my needle just through the orange part of that stitch, and I'm just going to knit the stitch with the orange. Okay, so the green yarn stays at the back of the work but doesn't do anything, doesn't knit, purl or anything. So you can see I have now sort of separated out that part of the stitch. Can you see that? And it is a knit stitch in orange. So now I've got to make its purl partner, because for every knit stitch it must have a purl partner. I'm going to bring both of the yarns in a very deliberate way round to the front of the work. I'm going to put my needle through the green part of the stitch and I'm going to purl it with the green yarn or avocado yarn. So now what I have is 2 stitches on my needle. I've got an orange knit stitch and a purl partner in green, and that is what I'm going to do all the way along. So just separate out those strands. There's the orange, move it to the front, purl the green. Don't forget, every stitch you make has to have a partner, and if you are making those orange knit stitches, the yarns, both of them must go to the back, and you will just knit with just the orange yarn. And if you are making those green purl partners, both yarns come to the front and you just purl with the green. And that is how you set up for the double knitting. And I will do this all the way around, and then we will see where we are, just moving those yarns together backwards and forwards, knitting and purling. Okay, when you get to a situation like this where the yarns aren't in sort of the correct order, if you like, don't worry about it. It will sort itself out. So I'm just sort of just working, even if, you know, from behind, it doesn't matter. It will work itself out. Okay, all the way along. Knitting in the orange, purling in the green. Right, I have worked all the way around and done the setup stitches for double knitting. If I show you really closely, you can see I'm alternating between the orange and the green all the way along, and all of those stitches have now, which were one sort of stitch with 2 strands, have now become individual stitches. And as we work along, the orange stitches are knit stitches and the green stitches are purl stitches. So it's hard to tell, especially with sort of tweedy yarn like this and on a very early row, you cannot actually see the effect happening. You need to make a couple of rounds or rows of it to be able to see that the front stitches will, these will close up as you work, and you will just get flat knitting, flat, you know, what's the word? I can't think of the word this morning. You know, a lovely, even, there you go, a nice even uninterrupted flat piece of knit in orange at the front, and absolutely the same flat uninterrupted, no purl bumps piece of green knitting at the back, so that your piece will be completely reversible. Now let's have a little look, for example, at the tea cozy. So, you know, effectively we've started down here and cast on with using those knitting and purl stitches held with the two yarns held together. Then we've done the setup round, and I'm going to start sort of making just plain, a couple of plain rounds in orange. But if you just look at the back, you can see it's absolutely identical. There's no purl bumps, it's all hidden nicely. You could reverse that and have the green side outermost if you like. So let's have a little look at working the stitches. And again, I've just put them on DPNs at the moment because the cable is quite distracting, and I would like you to really be able to see how this works. So if I hold that up to the camera, my first stitch is an orange knit stitch. So I'm just going to put my needle in as if to knit. Both of the yarns are at the back, and the knit stitch is worked in the normal way. Okay, now I've got a green purl partner, and so realistically this is very similar, in fact identical, to how you've worked setting up the stitches. But what should be a little bit easier now is that you've kind of got a pattern before you. You can see that that orange stitch is a knit stitch, and you can see that the green stitch is a purl stitch. And that is all I'm going to do at the moment, just working along, matching those stitches, purling the purls and knitting the knits in the correct colours, making sure to move my yarns backwards and forwards. They both must sit at the back when I'm knitting, and they both must sit at the front when I'm purling, even though I'm only using one of the colours. Okay, and I'm just going to work along like that. Right, so let's say that we want to now start putting a dot in our work, or a polka dot spot. Because those are in a contrast colour. So our main colour, let's have a little look. Our main colour on the front is orange, but we've got these contrast polka dots which are made in green. So how on earth do we deal with that? We don't have to put any new yarns in. We've got a green here, we can use this green. And if I look on the reverse side, the polka dot is in the contrast colour of orange. So we're going to just swap those yarns around. It is as simple as that. Now, my first, the spot is made, the first row of it is 3 stitches in the contrast colour. Now, when we're looking at stitches on our pattern or on our chart, they always come in pairs. So if I'm saying 3 stitches, what I mean is 3 knit stitches, and they're 3 purl partners. They're never ever taken by themselves unless it's explicitly stated in the pattern. You need to assume they're purl partners. So my next 3 stitches are this one and its partner, this one and its partner, this one and its partner. So it's actually this little group here between my thumbs that need to change. And all that's going to happen is I'm going to reverse the colours. So where I've been knitting in the orange colour, I'm going to knit it in the green, just for the few stitches that it needs to set up that pattern, or to make that pattern. So I've gone in knitwise, both yarns are at the back, but this time I'm knitting in the green. And because I've knit in the green, I'm going to reverse it and do its partner opposite. It's kind of like a yin and yang, isn't it? Everything has to have its equal and opposite action. I don't even know if those two things, if that's what that means. But basically, when you've done one in one colour, you need to do, if you've knit in one colour, you need to purl in the other for this pattern. All right. So that was the second pair I've just done. Let's look again. So third pair, I'm going to knit in the green and the purl partner in the orange. Okay, and that has given me what I need to start making the spot. So now I'm going to go back to my regular situation, which is just knitting in the orange and purling in the green. Okay, so that is, if you need to make changes to follow, you know, to make your patterns or motives or whatever, that's how you do it. So again, I think in the pattern, I sort of suggest, if you want to have a go before you go straight into the tea cozy, maybe make a small coaster first and practice. In the book, we've given you a blank chart, so you can design your own coaster, or you can use the big circle or whatever you want to do. But if you feel that you need to do a bit of a practice before you launch straight into the tea cozy to work out kind of how to change colours and play with the charts and that sort of thing, that's what I would suggest. And I would certainly suggest that in Zinnia and Mineral, so the orange and yellow, because there's plenty of both of those colours left at the end of the main projects. Okay, so that is really all you need to know to get started on, you know, we've done Magic Loop, we've done setting up your double knitting, and we've done sort of standard double knitting, which is what I'm doing right now. And we've also had a very brief look at how you change the colours to set up for your chart work. So I think you're good to go.